Welcome to the Gridiron Expert. Next up on our team previews, we're going to be looking at the Southern Miss Golden Eagles. And joining us on the channel to talk a little bit more about Southern Miss and the outlook for this season is Scott Watkins. Scott, welcome to the channel.
Thank you for having me.
Yes, sir. Well, before we get into the position group breakdown, Scott, please tell our viewers and subscribers where they can find your content.
Yeah, you can. I'm mostly just posting on Twitter. That's pretty much it. You come hang out. We're at Scott Watkins TU.
All right. Well, looking at the Golden Eagle roster for this coming fall, this is actually one of the more intriguing teams from a national standpoint this coming year. They bring in a bunch of guys from Marshall, coaching staff, obviously from the Thundering Herd, and a lot of their top players from the team that just won the Sun Belt. And so Southern Miss potentially could have one of the bigger win turnarounds in college football this coming fall. So we'll get started with the offense here for the Golden Eagles. And so they bring in Marshall's previous starting quarterback and Braylon Braxton. So, Scott, go over this quarterback room. Braylon probably will be the starter here, but what's the ceiling for this quarterback room this year?
Braylon is 100% the starter. He was announced that actually during a basketball game in December. When Charles Huff made that announcement, you bring over a guy who's 8-0 as a starter. That's there's and you bring him to Southern Miss where you've had 22 different quarterbacks in the last 4 years. It's Braylon Braxton. Um, he has a very high ceiling. I think he's very smart. The big thing about him is his size. I mean, he's really big and he's very mobile. That's something that you don't see too often. He's almost a KJ Jefferson type, maybe a little bit smaller. But he's got great size. He's got great awareness. He's a good person, really high IQ, and just a good arm. So he's somebody that could grow and could be one of the Sun Belt's best players sooner rather than later.
And looking at the running back room, so this is going to be almost like completely flipped here this season with Washington, I think, as the lone holdover from last year, I believe.
He's
Oh,
gone. He is gone now, to my
okay.
knowledge. He is out the door. Yeah, he's at UCA now.
Gotcha. Okay. So this is a complete flipping of a roster here in the running
Mhm.
back room. Of course, this is obviously a lot of new players overall for Southern Miss. So are there potential like running back ones here, alphas, or do you think this is going to be like a by committee room here?
I feel like early on there's going to be by committee, especially right now because in the spring, the guys that they did have were really banged up, but they were in boots. They pretty much used one guy and one scholarship player, I think, the entire spring. So you're going to see a lot of guys go in the fall. Robert Briggs, he's a little dude, but extremely fast out of Utah State. Jeffrey Pittman, Matt Jones, Moses Gray, those are Ole Miss, Mississippi State, Marshall guys, they're all going to get touches, I think, this season.
And do you think that this running back room will be one that they can lean on, or do you think it's going to be more so leaning on the pass this year?
Yeah, that's going to be a great question. I really don't know which direction they're going to go. I think they're going to be very multiple, and I think it's going to start on the ground, but it's going to be a lot of horizontal stuff. I think you'll see running backs split out wide on occasion in the slot in motion, and then, probably just play through the run game. There's a lot about the wide receivers that we really just don't know yet as well. So it's kind of a wait and see. In Mississippi State, that's one hell of a way to come out with a brand new offense and brand new style, brand new system. But the offensive coordinator, that is Blake Anderson, the Utah State head coach, Arkansas State head coach, and former Southern Miss OC. So obviously an incredible presence to have on that staff. So I think you can have high hopes, you can have high expectations, but I don't know how much they're going to lean on the run game and how much they're going to lean on certain backs here and there just yet.
So you mentioned there's also a lot of unknowns in the receiving room. Are there any standouts here, or are there like guys that you look at and say, okay, he has a high ceiling. We just don't know of his, what his like exact production will be. Are there like some true standouts in this room?
I think so. I think that Braylon Brown is going to be somebody who emerges as a true wide receiver one. on the outside. He's a Marshall transfer in the spring, had incredible chemistry with Braylon Braxton. Was an obvious security blanket. He made very tough catches and man matched up. I mean, he's a guy that I think could be an all Sun Belt talent at the end of the season.
And is there a quality depth in this room?
That remains to be seen. They lost a couple in the spring window, a couple of original holdovers, Ty Mims and Larry Simmons. They've both moved on. But Chuck Montgomery, Elijah Metcalf, Grant Page, and Davis Dalton also hold over. They can be pretty good, I think. But we just haven't seen a whole lot of in-game stuff.
So take me through this offensive line. Looks like it'll be mostly remade through the transfer portal, maybe some unknowns here as well. What's the expectation for this group this fall?
Who knows? No one knows. The offensive line has been the Achilles heel for Southern Miss, and that was the case throughout the Will Hall tenure. We've seen three or four into the spring portal. So yeah, it's completely remade. They're moving guys from inside to outside, from left to right. So it's I think the biggest thing is, finding your best five and then seeing how that group meshes down the road. I think you might see different starters throughout the season. But it is a very remade group. We might be better, might be worse. I would lean towards slightly better just because what there was before was really bad.
So the tight end room, some really exciting young players here, some experience at the top here. This looks like this could be one of the stronger position groups on the team. Could that be true?
Yeah, I think Southern Miss fans really, really, really like the tight ends, and I do too. I mean, Kyron Heath is just unbelievable. Felt like he was responsible for like 80% of their big plays last year through the air. He's got incredible hands, really young, very athletic, really good after the catch. And then Jesse Olowski, I forget how to say his name. He was a big get for the new staff to keep him. In Hattiesburg. He played a little bit of fullback, a little bit of tight end last season, but he's kind of a Swiss Army knife that can move around. Very, very athletic. Those two give Braylon Braxton a couple of really good options underneath.
So moving on to the defense for Southern Miss, and we'll start at the defensive line. Are Lewis and Cooley both returning?
That's a great question. Let me check. I think they are. No, Cooley is at Tulane, but Lewis, I believe, is returning.
Okay. So what is the outlook for the defensive line? Do you think that this will be a really strong group?
I think that it's a group that Coach Huff is targeting heavily this spring. There's not a lot of depth there. There's really not. And the guys that are down there, they either haven't played a lot or you just don't have a ton of FBS film on them just yet. And then they've lost four or five in the portal just this spring. So that's going to be a group that, again, like several others, just kind of wait and see. You just don't know when you have a roster that outputs 85 players from the season before, and that's a full team. That's a full football team. I don't know if that's ever happened before. I don't care to do the research, but you lose 85 players, you're gonna have some question marks, and defensive line is one of those.
Looking at the linebackers, so it looks like the starters are probably set here, but there might be some questions with the depth here. Is that correct?
Yeah, I think that's a pretty good analysis. Two linebackers it's gonna be 4-2-5, so you're gonna have two backers. Depth is a problem, but the two backers that you have that you're gonna start are very, very good. Chris Jones is probably the most NFL type body player on this team. He played a lot as a true freshman, extremely athletic. He learns very fast, very high IQ. He gets after the football, just an all around really good talent. He's going to kind of be that outside backer, and then Mike Montgomery is going to be the Mike. He comes out of Portland State, one of the better linebackers in the FCS level. So they are going to be really, really good at the top two, and obviously, like I said, they're going to be working to fill behind them.
So in the secondary, there are also a couple of really exciting players here. You mentioned one of them before we started recording here. They have one of the better cover corners in college football. So take me through the secondary.
Yeah, the secondary, Josh Moten, probably the biggest recruiting win outside of Braylon Braxton for Southern Miss. He was the number one coverage cornerback in college football on PFF. He definitely could have gone a number of places other than Southern Miss. He comes to Hattiesburg, so that is a really big win. They have remade pretty much the entire secondary. You'll see Amir Foster at safety. He came on really fast at Marshall. He's going to be, I think, one of the other better players on the team. Josh Battle as well. Dylan King's a JUCO guy. They're really deep. I think they're really deep in the secondary, especially at safety. How deep they'll go at corner, I'm not sure, but you love to see a guy like Moten locking down the top wide receiver every single game that you're going to play.
So, Scott, obviously there's a lot of new players for Southern Miss, still a lot of unknowns, not a ton of certainties in regards to what this season's going to look like. But Southern Miss coming off of a season in which not a lot went right. There's only really room for growth here. But Scott, try to give our viewers and myself a as good of an outlook as you can give for this year in terms of what you think the expectation could slash should be.
Yeah, I don't think anyone's really seen a page turn like this. You like I mentioned earlier, 85 players out, 80 something in. It's hard. It's hard to, put a finger on where, where the expectation is. From the outside, you're going to look at 1-11. You're going to look at a new coach, and you'll see some new transfers, and that's about it. So you'll think, this might be a little rocky. It might take some time. But you get into it and you see the staff that's put together. You see an offensive coordinator that's extremely experienced and has had success everywhere that he's been. You see a defensive coordinator that built one of the Sun Belt's best defenses at Marshall. And then you see the linebackers, Chris Jones and Mike Montgomery. You see Braylon Braxton and Josh Moten. You see that every problem area of the last 4 seasons, the players that were there no longer exist in Hattiesburg. Everything is different. As Huff said, he's not coaching with the 1-11 football team. He's coaching with the team that he recruits. So you really don't know what you're going to see. I think that there's enough question marks and turnover on the line of scrimmage to kind of be a little bit precautious about what the ceiling might be this year. But I also think that there's enough at the skill positions and on the outside to say, this team could be really special. This team could be very explosive. So I think that at the very least, this team is going to play in a bowl game next season. They have a difficult division that's tough at the top, at least with Louisiana, Arkansas State, Texas State. Those are going to be battles. But you get games with, Jackson State, you get Jacksonville State, you get Louisiana Tech. Those are all very, very winnable games. You win those three, 2 or 3 conference games, you're in a bowl game. That's all it takes. So I'm looking at 6-6 is probably the safe bet for this team.
I believe is 7 home games this year. Is that the
Yeah.
most? Is that the most home games in this century?
You'd have to check that. I do not know.
Okay. So yeah, so 7 home games this year for the Golden Eagles, brand new roster and a brand new coaching staff, but of course a coaching staff that, as Scott just previewed there, has a lot of experience at other places and a really good background, really good history there. So yeah, Southern Miss could be a very, very intriguing team for this coming fall. Well, Scott, really good job previewing this new look Golden Eagles roster for 2025. One last time for our viewers, where can they find your content?
Yep. I operate entirely out of Twitter. So that is Scott Watkins T U.
All right. Well, Scott, again, we appreciate your time on the channel and have a good one, man.
Thank you. You too.
Yeah.